Christmas time.
Hello. Merry Christmas.
Smiling, being happy.
Most are still spending time with their families, but again, I'm committed to this 30-day challenge and catch the replay. So while Facebook builds the audience, I will play this lovely Christmas song by Luther Vandross.
Merry Christmas to the world.
You guys come on in, say hello. Heart, love, thumbs up. You know the drill. And you know the deal.
For every boy
For those of you who are on Facebook at this time, please join me, say hello. Share this out.
Makes me feel what a joy it is to find.
So if you're just joining, make sure you say hello, heart, love, thumbs up. I'm sharing this out as I'm also sharing a Christmas song by Luther. One of my favorites. So make sure you share this out. This is your opportunity to do so, as I am as well, so that you're not distracted once we get started here. I have one more place to share this, and we are going to get started.
Hear the people smiling, being happy again.
This is my jam, y'all. You asked me one of the best Christmas songs. Okay, I
wish that every day of the year.
So we will go ahead and get started on this beautiful Christmas day. Goodness, can't believe Christmas has come and almost gone. But as I said, I was committed to this challenge, this 30-day productivity challenge. So I had to come on today. And if you aren't able to catch me live, you always have the opportunity to catch me on the replay. So don't fret there if you are missing out on the live. So we've been talking about increasing your productivity while maintaining peace of mind. And we've shared so many awesome tricks and treats and tips, whatever you want to call them, that you can immediately implement in your life to increase your productivity while maintaining peace of mind. So I know you folks out there are also well involved into so many different things and have responsibilities to so many different people. I know well enough myself, right? Which is why I wrote this book, Intentional Living, which is what I'm using as I'm going through these 30-day principles. So this is going to especially help those that are well involved in the many things that we often get involved in life, right? Whether it be things that we plan to do or things that we anticipated on doing. Some things we just look up and we find that we've committed to it, right? So we got to be careful about all of that. But before we get into a real quick recap of what we already talked about and get into our today's topic, wanted to introduce myself just in case it's your first time tuning in. I am Dr. Jatun Dorsey, Amazon's best-selling author, life and business coach, speaker, professor, and corporate chick. So with all that being said, I know what it means to be well involved, right? So I have learned to master time management, productivity, and those things that not only help you in your career, but in your business, in your love life, and just life in general, right? So I hope you continue to tune in because we've, again, talked about so many awesome topics. And if you haven't been tuning in, make sure you catch the replays and make sure that you connect with me so you'll know when I go live and or click the alert button here so that you get that alert whenever I do go live, right? So you can follow me at DRJATUN on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, right? And I've uploaded some of the videos on YouTube as well. So that'll get you started if you are, if YouTube is your place, right? You can go ahead and go there and get started on watching some of the replays. That will be awesome because I want you to follow along with us because these principles were intentionally placed in the order of which that they were, right? So you've got to follow along. You've got to be aware of where we are and where we've been so that you can progress with us. So the topics we've talked about include shifting your mindset. So in that section, we talked about various principles that help you reframe your thoughts, right? Especially those negative thoughts. So getting a better perspective on the things that you've experienced, right? Being prepared and in a planning mode rather than reactionary, right? So we are functioning at our creative self when we are thinking positively and having those, where is it? Good vibes. There we go. I'm trying to point it. I have to think backwards with this recording. So then we went into don't fail to plan. We talked about planning and how important that is, right? Documentation beats conversation was one of the topics. And we went into how it's important to have a documented plan so that you can follow along and have your plan in place so that you can always refer back to it. That thing is your blueprint, right? You keep it in a sacred place because you want to always be reminded of your ultimate goal so that you don't fall short, so that you don't get distracted, and all those many things come about. And then section 3 was, make every minute count. We talked about there being 1,440 minutes in every day, which means you have that same number of opportunities to make an impact on the world, right? To achieve your goals, to work, to make progress towards your goals. So we talked about better use of your time, day in and day out. And then from there, we went into make it happen. Make it happen, right? Which was section 4. Remember, I only have 5 sections in the book, so we are creeping right along to the end. So section 4 was make it happen. And in make it happen, we talked about action, right? Remember, I always say that I love to inspire, encourage, and influence and empower, all that good, right? All that good stuff. However, what really tickles my fancy is to get you in action. Right. So transforming from empowerment, motivation, all those things that are great, but they're only a piece of the pie. Right. The main thing is getting to that action and consistently. And so that's what we wanted to talk about, or we did rather talk about in the make it happen section. Right. So I shared some tips on how you can get into action, consistent action, so that you can progress towards your goals, and see that. Realize that manifesting, right? Realizing that those steps that you're taking are in fact and indeed getting you closer to your goal. So now we are finally in the last section, which is called refill your tank. Let me tell you, we all need a refill. Can I get a refill? That's what the girl said in that song a few months back, or maybe even a year. I'm a little late, but I know she said that. We all need a refill every now and again, but sometimes we don't ask for it. Right. So I wanted to talk to you about refill today. In this section, we proceed with a quote, right? One that I want to share with you so that you can keep this in your mind as we progress through this topic, right? And it is, I give up freely what is no longer serving me. I release it to create space for what inspires me. So sometimes we just have so many things in our mind, our mental space and our physical space that are just taking up space, right? Where we need to move those things out, reassess, do we really need those things in our life so that we can make room for the progress and make room for the increase that we're praying for, that we're desiring, that we're dreaming for. Sometimes we've got to make some changes, right? And that just requires some reassessment and some movement of some things, so reassessment and some realignment. But particular today, we are on principle 25, hence Christmas, right? Merry Christmas to you yet again if you're just joining. But 25, in principle 25, we talk about when you grow tired, rest, but don't quit. Let's say that one more time. When you grow tired, rest, but don't quit. All too often, we finally get to the point where we're making action, right? And then we get exhausted, we get tired, we get overwhelmed, we get all these many different feelings that convert to us in the way that, okay, now I need to stop, right? Stop forever and never pick this thing back up, which means that you'll never achieve the goal after all the work that you've done thus far. So what I am encouraging you to do is, thanks for the thumbs up. If you guys are just joining, make sure that you do give me thumbs up, heart, love, share this out so that we can make sure that we are getting this out to the folks, because the people needs this, right? Needs with an S on the end. Y'all know I got to add that S when I'm emphasizing, right? So make sure you share this out. Make sure you say hello to me so I'll know that you have joined, and so I'll know who joined so I can greet you. Hey, Jatun, thanks for joining. So as I was saying, when you Feel tired, rest, but don't quit. And this is a perfect topic for today because I know all too well that many of you are exhausted from all the gift buying, all the shopping, bouncing from store to store, wrapping gift after gift. And then today you're probably out with family, right? You're hopping around to be with family at different locations. So this is a tiring season, right? So we want to say, don't quit, right? Don't quit. I got something on my tooth. I saw that. Don't quit, but rest. Make sure that you do get your rest because your body otherwise will tell you, right? In a way that you may not have anticipated or may not even wanted in your life, right? So you may get sick. You may, your body will talk to you. And sometimes we always have to listen. And sometimes we don't listen, which gets us into an even worse situation when it comes to health, right? When it comes to our mental states. So we want to be sure that we are paying attention to our brains, paying attention to our bodies, and taking the time out that we necessarily need in order to be even better, right? To continue towards these goals that we've set for ourselves. One thing that I do talk about, I like to share analogies and get you guys to truly understand the impact of what I'm sharing, these principles, right? And before I get into that analogy, remember that each principle shares with you some encouraging words, some motivation, right? Some stories and everything to illustrate the benefit of the principle and what the principle really means. But at the end of each chapter or principle, in this case, you get the opportunity to ask yourself various questions related to that principle so that you can quickly apply, right? So that you can easily apply, quickly apply, and get to the root of the matter as it relates to you in particular. So that is why I encourage you to grab your copy of the book so that you too can make sure that you stay on track and hold yourself accountable. We can't always count on someone else on the exterior to do that. So we got to hold ourselves accountable. And that's one step in the direction of doing so. Now, when we talk about the analogy that I use and love to illustrate in this topic, rest but don't quit. When you get tired, right? You rest but don't quit. There's the story of a frog. And this frog, and we have just imagine a pot of boiling water, and the frog is thrown into this pot of boiling water and immediately jumps out because it's extremely hot, right? So that's the reaction. However, we took the same frog and placed it into some room temperature water and gradually brought it to a boil. And then in that case, the frog stayed in the water because it became comfortable, right? It grew adjusted or adapting to the water as the temperature increased, right? So instead of just throwing it into this hot pot of water, it was placed into some room temperature water and increased the temperature as, time went on. So that frog in the second scenario never jumped out, right? Because it was comfortable, right? Because it was just, it was something that frog grew accustomed to. But as it got hotter and hotter, it began to do more and more work to try to escape. But at that point, it was so exhausted that it didn't have the stamina to get out of the water, right? And so that's kind of how I see us doing life, right? So we experience those things that kind of hit us hard. And I know I talked about your body telling you that you need to rest, right? But sometimes it takes that big punch, right, for us to wake up and say, oh my goodness, I've got to sit down, right? I've got to jump. I've got to do something right now. And you immediately act on it. But in the case of which the water is gradually increasing in temperature, we seem to adjust, right, and get really comfortable. And then we realize at a certain point that, the water is getting warmer. This is not what I want to be in. And eventually, if it continues to get warmer, I won't be able to live in this, right? So you start to exert a lot of energy to try to get out. But because you've stayed in so long, it's just even harder to crawl your way out, to jump your way out, whatever method that you can find, you're trying. But then you get exhausted, right? You get so tired that you just eventually just give up and give out. So that's what we want to avoid when we talk about this topic. So whenever it comes to all the many things that you're doing in life, when it comes to you achieving your goals or working towards your goals, when it comes to you giving to others and helping others, you've got to remember to refill your tank. And remember that whatever you pour in is all that you can pour out, right? Right? So if you think about it, you got an orange and the orange has orange juice inside of it. And you slice that orange and you squeeze and you wonder why apple juice is not coming out this orange. That's because it's an orange, right? Same thing goes with us. Whatever you're pouring in, whatever you're made of is what you're going to pour out. But you have to ensure that, for one, that is all positivity, right? That's all great. It's all good. And secondly, you've got to remember that you've got to refill. Anytime you pour out, you're losing from you, right? You want to make sure that you take care of yourself so that you can be better for others. And that way you're serving from the best of you and not the stress of you. So with that, I am going to close out today's topic because I don't like to give away too much. I need you to go and grab your copy so that you can get it first dibs, first hand, straight from the book. Intentional Living, right? 30 productivity principles to increase your peace of mind. So you need to make sure that you grab that, and so that, tomorrow and the remainder of the days that you are on point, you're on track, you know exactly what we've talked about, you know where we currently are, because again, we've talked about, thanks for the hard love, we've talked about getting your mind right. We talked about your plan. We talked about effective use of your time. We talked about taking action. And now we're talking about, after you've done all of that, make sure that you keep your mind right? You got your mind right, but now you got to keep your mind right in all of what you're doing to achieve your goals. So again, this is Dr. Jatun Dorsey. Make sure that you connect with me, whether it be my website, drjatun.com. You see there on the screen, or on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at drjatun. You can also check out my YouTube channel, same. It's Dr. Jatun Dorsey. Make sure you check that out. There are some of these videos that have been uploaded already. So you can, if you just joining, just finding out about the challenge, you can start there and get yourself revved up. And hopefully you can catch up by the time we start with tomorrow, or maybe even a couple days later, so that you can be on the same page with us and progress along with us. So with that, I want to also remind you of A Day with the Dorseys. Make sure you check that out. I'll be sharing the link. The survey, you all know about the survey. Make sure you fill that out so you can get your opportunity to win. I will be pulling from the drawing at the end of this month. So make sure that you do the survey so that you can get your name in the game. And I just realized my scarf is a little turned here, but yes, make sure you get your name in the game so we make sure that you are a part of the drawing when I do the drawing, right? We want everyone to have a chance to win. So after that, we want to also, hey, LaDonna. Yes, I am closing out, but that's okay. If you need to catch the replay, it's always there, sis. Thank you for joining. So, survey, Day with the Dorseys. And then also, remember, I told you the title of the book that I released earlier this year is Living and Intentional Living. And that talks about the principles that I've been sharing in this 30-day challenge, right? However, I have another book coming out early 2018, and I'm the visionary of this book. It's also called Intentional Living. However, it's the anthology, which means that I brought on some amazing co-authors who have shared their lived experiences as it relates to challenges and barriers that they've experienced in life, but more so, how did they intentionally overcome and or learn to cope with those challenges in life. So I'm sure there's bound to be a story that you can relate to, maybe something that you're currently going through, right? Something that you're currently going through that you can now say that I'm not alone, right? Not only am I not alone, but here's something that I can apply that may help me in the same or similar situation, right? So make sure that you continue to follow myself, and you will see some of the teasers as we continue to drop some teasers here and there, myself and the co-authors. So we are actively getting you ready, building your appetite for this release in early 2018. This will be my 4th book, if we're not including my dissertation. And I love to throw that in because that's a book too. I'm just saying it took some time. So 4 or 5, whatever number you want to go with. That is where I am with my authorship, right? So make sure that you continue to follow, you continue to listen to all of the replays as well. I know some of you got some vacation, so take some time to binge watch so you can get caught up as we progress towards the 30th day. We are very, very, very close to that. Today is 25, day 25, principle 25. So if you continue to follow, we will be closing this thing out real soon. Again, we are talking about refilling your tank. This is the section that we're in. Today's first principle in that section was, when you grow tired, rest, but don't quit. And before I close out, as I always say, there's never a perfect moment. What's important for us is to make the current moment that we have perfect, right? So until then, have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed rest of your Christmas, and enjoy your family, and bye for now.